Hello everyone, Raghu Konamola here, and I know I'm not being very regular on YouTube, but somehow I decided to talk about how one can sound like a CEO. Now, before I begin, I just wanted to tell you all of this. This video is going to be pretty much raw. I am not going to edit this anyways. I really don't want to spend a lot of time doing all of that. But I want those whosoever are, very much committed in learning to watch this content. While watching this, in case if you're scrolling something, maybe in case if you're texting someone, maybe you're toggling between Instagram and WhatsApp and Facebook or a Snapchat, whatsoever, this video is not for you. You can actually stop watching it or take some time later and watch it, but watch it in one go. That's what I expect, because this is purely for the serious learners. I want you guys to invest your 5 to 10 minutes of your time. That being said, I actually, thought of talking about how one can sound like a CEO. Now, why one should sound like a CEO, right? Let me get a little relaxed. I'm conscious that I'm on camera, but why one should sound like a CEO, right? I've grown up watching CEOs interviews. I've grown up listening to a lot of TED Talks. I've grown up watching the product launches, the keynote speeches. Especially I spend a lot of time watching Steve Jobs. I spend a lot of time watching Satya Nadella and Google CEO Sundar Pichai and all. One thing that I noticed was there is some secret sauce in the way they converse, in the way they speak, and that's what gets them what they wanted. For example, there's some magic, and just after delivering the speech, they will leave some sort of impact on the listeners, on the audience and all. In fact, I wanted you to sound like that. In fact, I wish I sound like that. In fact, I'm in the learning process. That being said, why sounding like a CEO is very important, right? Let me tell you this. CEOs in their day-to-day life, they'll have to convince investors, they'll have to talk to them, they have to deliver speech at the product launches, and at the same time they have to convince their own employees, and at the same time they will have to listen to the complaints. They will also have to talk to the tech teams, they'll have to talk to the strategy investors. They also have to handle media, whatnot, a lot, right? It's just like the way CEOs have many things to do. In fact, I believe, a lot of people, right? We all have a lot to do, and that lot is somehow connected to the way we speak. Hence, I decided sounding like a CEO is very important. And when I say CEO, it's not confined to CEO. I mean, I want everyone to sound like a leader, right? I want everyone to sound like that game changer who brings in that change and all of that. So, in fact, in the recent past, I'm spending a lot of time watching podcasts on my way to work, and I made these three common observations. And in fact, we're going to talk about those three common observations that I made in the recent past. And first thing first, the common thing that I noticed out of the way the CEOs speak or talk, one common content or one common observation that I made out of the CEO's talk was their content is shareable. They leave some impact, or once that session is over, once the delivery is over, once that facilitation is done, people are very much connected, people are very much excited, very much overwhelmed, people are very much involved. What they end up doing is they feel like sharing it, they feel like taking that action out of it. That's what happens. If you go back to Steve Jobs, his content or his speeches are shareable. When I say shareable, even now, even today, it's been many years, Steve Jobs left us, but even today, I'm sure there are many who take inspiration from Steve Jobs' keynote speech, that product launch speech. Why? Because that is so remarkable, and even today we feel like sharing it across. So if you speak, or wherever you speak, or whenever I speak, the goal that I have in my mind is to have that lasting impact, and I wanted people to share my content, right? You should be shareable. That's when you get to scale it, that's when you'll have the reach. So if you wanted to sound like a CEO, you have to plan your script, or you have to do your homework in a way that your content is somehow is shareable, right? That's the point one. Now we'll talk about the second common observation that I made out of the way CEOs speak. CEOs, right, they somehow ensure that their audience are emotionally connected to the story that they tell. For example, if you take Sundar Pichai, or if you take any CEO rather, or any great leaders across the world, the common thing is they make people laugh, they make people cry, they make people smile, right? During the start of the sessions, if you observe it, they use this pinch of humor, right? They feel audience excited, they make them laugh. In case if they're talking about their background, in case if they're sharing that sad story, that emotional part of their life, they will make their audience connect to it. And there are so many people out of the audience, they will connect to that emotion, they feel it, they see themselves in it, right? That emotional connect is required, right? Whenever you deliver any speech, or whenever you speak to anybody, as a leader, or as a CEO, as an adult, we will have to speak to a lot of people in our day-to-day life, right? We will have to convince a lot of people. Imagine you're thinking of buying a car, you'll have to speak in a way that the other person understands your requirements, and at the same time they'll give the best out of you, they'll understand you. So speaking with a conviction is very, very important. Imagine you wanted a loan, so how do you negotiate the interest rates, and all of that matters a lot. So before you do all of that, that emotional connect is very much required. So while talking to audience, while delivering the speech next time, ensure that you're involving your audience emotionally, ensure that they're connected to you. And the last common observation that I made out of the successful CEO speeches that I heard, or that I spent some time observing, is their content is very much relatable. For example, if you take Sundar Pichai, right? I heard one of his speeches, keynote speeches, I guess 2020 one, or a 2019 one, not so sure. But he made it so relatable that everybody connected to Sundar Pichai's speech. What happened was, Sundar Pichai spoke about the landline phone. Sundar Pichai spoke about having no internet connect. Sundar Pichai spoke about not so well versed technology back then. He spoke about those conditions. And when someone who's so successful, when someone who is driving the technology today, when someone is super cool, if that someone talks about that past, or let's say your audience are somehow they wanted to go to a place where you are, and if you keep telling them, if you keep bragging about your success, they might not relate to you. All you have to do is you have to talk about your stories, you have to talk about your background. If you just do that, what happens is people somehow they will connect to you, which is very much related as well. So don't talk about your today's success, don't talk about that particular product that you're launching, don't talk about that particular theme, whatever you're trying to deliver. Give a little bit of background and find those common grounds and ensure that people are relating to it. For example, if you take Steve Jobs, while launching this iPod, right, he spoke about how many number of songs can we have in our different devices versus the iPod. He made audience relate to whatever he was launching, and then he ended up launching whatever he's launching, so which is very much important. So let me just repeat whatever I just spoke. The first common observation that I spoke about was shareable. So whenever you speak, your content has to be shareable. And the second one, ensure that you're engaging your audience emotionally, which is very much required. And the last point that I spoke about was relatable. Your content should be so relatable that audience see themselves in your story, and that's when they connect to you, that's when they share your content, right? For now, these are the three observations that I have, and hopefully if you're listening, I want you to make note of these 3 pointers and I want you to work on it. And those were the 3 secrets that I observed out of all the successful CEOs speeches and all. If you really wanted to sound like a leader, my humble request is I want you to have these 3 elements in your speech. I guess that's pretty much about it. I just made key, very important notes. I just wrote all of them down, and I hope I guess I've discussed all of them down here. That's all I have. Thank you so much for watching. Stay tuned, stay connected. Please feel free to subscribe if you can afford to, if you can do